Hey all. So it's been a while. We're going to pick up a little bit of the Paranoia coding that I was doing before, and I've got a couple of other tasks I need to pick up on as well. Uh, I've shared some of the content with some of the Roll20 character sheet developers, and they've come back with a couple of comments about audio quality. So I need to work on that. See whether or not I can make it so that you can hear what I'm actually saying a little bit better. First up, I'm working on my Tales of Xadia character sheet today, first off. So let's have a quick look at what that looks like. So what I'll do is bring up the character sheet here. So a quick look at Roll20. So here's one of the character sheets from before. So this is one of the pre-gen characters that are available. I'm making some changes to this character sheet while we're looking. I'll go through some of the features here. So this is the Edit Traits button. And you can see here that you can change which of the pre-gen characters you're playing with. Ah, interesting. So that's a smaller image, right? Okay, so that's one of the things I'm going to be looking at. That image may need me to do some Photoshop work. I don't know if I'll do that today or not. But what you can see here is that this image is smaller. What does it look like if I go for one of the original images? You know, it kind of works. It's not what I was aiming for. I want the dice on the halo. But I made all these changes last night to try and get it to work for that image. And of course it's just a smaller image is the problem. Okay, so there's that. So I'll bear that in mind as well, because I'll be doing some more. I may not stream it, but I'll be doing some more editing tomorrow to add an extra pre-gen character. They're doing a weekly update for Tales of Xadia, where we're getting an extra pre-gen character every week. So I'll be adding that into the character sheet once I get hold of that tomorrow. So with that being the case, I'm going to probably wait until I get the next character and take a look at those portrait images and see whether or not we can resize them. It might be more sensible to resize the others down to this size. If I click there. Okay. So the feature that I'm going to be working on today is the stress editing option on here. So I can switch on and off this extra set of attributes here, and then each one of these is a styled pull down list selects where I can pick the dice type and then hide that, and then the actual stress and trauma are at the bottom of the character sheet as they're not directly usable by the character. So I'm hiding the actual dice values at the bottom there, but you could just leave the edit stress switched on and use those. And the only change that I actually need to make on these is that you do not have a D4 in either the stress or in the trauma on these characters. So I'm going to take a look at that. So go back to my coding. Here. I need to find the edit section, which is one more jump. In fact, it's right there on screen. And then all I'm going to do is do a quick search and a quick visual search and delete each of these entries. And I'm not going to do a search and replace in the code because there are a lot of D4 dice throughout the code that I don't want to take out, and it's just 12 of these that I do want to remove. That's all the ones in the insecure, in the stress, and this is the ones for trauma. So in Cortex, normally you would have a D4 available as one of your stress options, and it adds a little bit more of a complication to it where if you're rolling against somebody, you would normally get their stress dice and add it to your pool to make your pool stronger. But a D4 is a weak dice that you don't want to roll in the system. So there's a special rule in Cortex for if you've got a D4 in a stress or a trauma, then you roll it, you don't give it to your opponent. The Tales of Xadia variation, the build of Tales of Xadia, removes that and adds in D6 is the lowest stress that you can get. So if I save that file and we skip back to Roll20, and I'm using the sandbox here, so I'm just going to load in the HTML. And that's, bear with me, I'll locate that file. Once that's loaded, it will automatically update, and I should now be able to select, and you can't see the pull down lists because it doesn't show you UI options unless I'm giving you my entire screen. But basically all of these now only have D6 through to D12 or no stress or stressed out, and then in the trauma section there's in the trauma section there's the same again, no trauma, D6, 8, 10, 12, or a specific short message per trauma type. So you can see here, insecure, too insecure to function. If I do that for each of these. Too afraid, too angry, and too corrupted. And then all the others are no stress, D6, D8, D10, D12, or stressed out. And then if I turn, well, I don't have to turn off the edit feature. If I turn off the edit feature and we scroll to the bottom, you can see that the 6, the 8, the 10, and the 12 have been applied. I don't have a 14. So I do have, I have an image that I can swap in for when stress is above 12. So let's have a look at that again. Look, the edit stress. No stress, I'm afraid. And insecure is stressed out. Afraid would be there. Insecure would be down here. Okay, yeah. So no trauma. D6, D8, D10, and D12. And then if I scroll to the bottom, you can see that we have the 6, the 8, the 10, and the 12 showing. But if your trauma is at a 12 or higher, then your character has effectively been killed or otherwise removed from play. But we'll leave that for GMs to rule. Okay, so I'm going to hide that editing slot there, and I think I'm happy with that. So my halos, do I want to fix that before I move on? I think so. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go back in, I'm going to undo the change that I did last night. So I need to, I've got this saved, I need to load up the CSS instead. Let me pop the font size up a couple of notches for you so you can see what's going on. And I'll hide the viewing crown. Okay, so I need to find the halo layout here, and it was, I just need to go through and add some values on here to change things back up. So it was, it needs to be 40, so it's 30 pixels from the top, 30 pixels further down, and 15 away from the left. So that would be 180 and 55. And this is going to be 205 and 70. And this is 230 and 280, 255 and 280 and 280 and 270 and 290. Oh, yeah, I'll go back. Yeah, no, that was right. 280, 270. That should be 305. And this is going to be 60. I think from the beginning we've spotted that my maths isn't great. So again, back to the Chrome view. And then we're going to load that CSS in. And it refreshes. Ah, everything's too far down. What then? So I'm going to do a quick measurement on that. So the center of the 10, I bring everything up by 30 pixels. So I shouldn't have removed the 30 pixels then. Okay, the measurements I took yesterday said otherwise, but 275, 250, 225, 210, that one's going to be 175, 150, 210. Oh yeah, that's the catalyst value, so that's slightly off from the others. Save that, and grab hold of that file as well. Yeah, that seems right. Okay, so my influence measurement's off by a little bit. I must have typed in the wrong number there. So I need to bring that up by, I think that's going to be about 10 maybe. So where's influence? Influence is here. Try that at 200. I don't know what value it was before I changed it, but it's now wrong. CSS. Load the file back in. And there we go. Okay, so I'm using a CSS case that pushes all of the attributes into the halo around the character, and you've just seen that in place. I've used that as well on the Hammerheads character sheet, which we've previewed in previous videos. And if we edit and change now to, you'll see why I did all those changes. If I now load up the image for the most recent, I think the character's name was Rafna, the most recent character from the pre-gen set, all those are slightly out. But if I can edit this image, maybe we could do that. That character image is on the GitHub, so I need to push to get that to change. I think that's a point. Until I actually upload that image, unless I upload that image to the GitHub and get that approved, which I don't want to do yet because I've not checked all the other changes that I want to make, then I'm not comfortable. Yeah, I'm not comfortable changing that image just for that. So I'm going to see what the next one's like tomorrow. I am doing some coding while you're not watching me. So there. Right. 1 second while I just change projects then. So I'm going to put the Tales of Xadia character sheet away. And from there, we'll go to the Paranoia game. yeah, we can show you a few of the things that we've got going on in this game as well now. Okay. So let me just load in the latest version of the Paranoia character sheet. So I've been doing some work on this in an actual campaign that I might be running. So I've got a lot on there I can show you. I might load that up in a moment. But let's get where we are here. So let's load Tuto, good old-fashioned tutorial character. But he says I can can't put the character sheet there. Okay, I mean we've all seen this already. We know what he looks like. Tutorial, thought, word, and deed, security, service group, secret society. We've got actual R&D devices now, and I can assign those specifically to each character. The charges on your laser barrel, am I spelling that right? Your reflect armor. All of these are on the character sheet already. You've got your abilities and specialities, and actions and distinctions. Character name here. The string for the character name picks this part and copies it from there. So let's take a look at the next part of the character sheet that I've been working on in your absence. So this is a termination voucher, one of the base features of Paranoia games. When you want to terminate a traitor, you've got to do the paperwork. So you have to fill in the name of the person you want to kill, and then you have to specify using checkboxes here the reasons why they're good to kill. Can I? Yeah, so I can zoom in on that. So I can make just that one character sheet a bit bigger. Okay. So I'll let you guys have a brief moment where this is on screen. You can see the individual lines. Theft or hoarding of computer property or services. If we scroll down a bit further, here we are. This was one of the ones from the second ed Paranoia game. Reproducing adventure gaming rules, charts, tables, forms without permission from the publisher. There's a few other bits and pieces in there that I've added for my own entertainment value, and then there's some fields towards the bottom. So one of the features that I need to be working on is to get this so that it's a specific state of the character sheet. So you only see it if you fill in the character creation form to give me a buffer to maybe flick a few switches after character creation. So that was the termination form. I can create additional character sheets and then hand those out to specific players so they can fill the form out in triplicate or whatever I need. And then this won't count as an actual character on the table, but it will be recorded and the entries to it will be recorded. I can switch off the edit feature in the bio infos tab so that they fill it in once, and then I take hold of that and hold it against them for later use in the game. So let's get one of the other characters, leave Tuto how he is, and we're going to change on here mode to, try to remember which specifically, 1, no, that was it, 2, 2. Okay, so this is the character creation sheet. And when you press the submit button at the bottom of this, what I want to do is actually have it load this section here at the bottom that we indicated before. Please hold while we repack your redacted and delete misaligned RNA sequences. So it shouldn't come straight through to here, it should go to that. I think that's my intention. So that's one of the things that I want to take a look at now. So back over to the HTML. You can see all the questions here for the termination form. And then this is the registration form, the character creation form. And at the bottom of this, I've got a checkbox, because I don't actually need a button. I'm just looking to here. So label for attribute mode is submit, and I've got a checkbox attribute. Maybe I can just do radio buttons. Maybe that's what I need. It currently is going to value 1. I do that. And then get new HTML into Chrome. Okay, so now I can change the value in there. So instead of 1, I can make it whatever value I want. 0, save. And then we'll reload that again. So I made a small change off screen there, just so I could reload the HTML with a different value on the radio button. And change that back to 2. Hit the submit. Okay, so now the only thing it's showing is please hold while we repack your redacted. So if I now make that its own mode, then I can put, my intention is to put the all-seeing eye of the friend computer in as a graphic that then loads in that slot. And then basically, as soon as they press submit, they'll see the eye looking back at them with all of its glory. So I want a mode 0. And it's going to include that. Get back to the top. So we've got mode 2 is character creation. I want to close up these, so I'm just going to zip up the, fold up the 3 modes I've already got, which are termination form, character sheet, and character creation character sheet itself. We will then create a new mode, which will be sheet dash holding page. That should be right there. Okay, I need it to be sheet mode as well, so just copy that, paste it in here. Oh, I've made it spanner. I want div. Put that in there. One second. Okay, so I've added now a new mode, holding page, and I need to find that in here. So sheet mode, find mode in CSS. So I can now duplicate that row, paste it in, and if I get a 0, I want to show sheet. I'm not calling it a holding page. Holding page. No. So As with the other three modes that you can see here, I've now created a new mode. Everything should be hidden by default. It will go for character creation as visible because the value has been set to 2. That value will probably be changed before I go live with my first game because I want players to watch this video and then go, aha, we know the value to get into edit our characters. So do not expect to be able to hack your way through this so easily. But one of the Secret Society missions does have a payoff if you watch this video. So bear that in mind. Yeah, I'm cheesy like that. Right, that should therefore mean that the only time you see whatever I put in this message, the only time you should see it is if we have set a value of 0. And if I now upload that file into the Chrome viewing, so we'll go back into here. Get that HTML file loaded up. Check that that's actually saved. Would help if I save it. So let's do that again. Change that to and come back to view caption. So this is the character creation form. It's still got the message at the bottom. Why has it still got the message at the bottom? So I'll leave that on the code. Is it not loaded the saved file? Just load that again. Okay, sorry guys. For some reason I don't think it's loading the file. There we are, that's made the refresh. It's not on the bottom of that form anymore. So, why is it on the bottom of this one? We might need to take a look at the character sheet editor. Oh, it's gone now. Okay, so it's gone off of that one. So let's have a look at Anna. It's gone off of that one as well. Okay, so we'll change Anna's mode to 2. And it's not there. Okay, cool. So I then press submit, and it's not there either. Let's add a new one. Start a new character. So changes character sheets. Yes, of course it copies that in. Press the submit, and it's not showing the message. Mode is definitely 0. Holding page. Right. Okay, I'm confused. Not sure what's not working. Oh, I've not. Haha. I've not loaded the CSS. My apologies, everybody. Makes a lot of sense. Because the CSS, of course, contains the logic that decides when to show the character sheet content. So I'll get this to force a refresh. Let's take a look at Abby. Okay, submit. There it is. Please hold while we repack your redacted and delete misaligned RNA sequences. I'm now going to bring in, again, I'm going to need to upload that image, aren't I? Okay, well for now, let's upload it into Roll20. I've got a few here already. Let's have that one. So I'm going to use Shift Z to zoom in on that image, and then right click and copy image address. Then we'll go back to the code. So hide the preview in Roll20, and inside the holding page I'll just start an image tag and I'll paste in the URL of the image that we were just looking at. Let's save that for now, just save as. Right, I can then grab the HTML. Go to the new character. There it is. So the holding screen brings the computer eye in and then holds the message down here. Now I want to obviously do more with that. What do I want to do with that? I mean, have I got the one that I did? Yeah, that one. I want to use that. So let's get rid of this and put that in. And we'll again Shift Z to preview that image. Yes, that's what we're talking about. Let's grab that. Copy image address. I'm just going to quickly paste that in to there. So I'm just going to replace that in the code. And I'm looking at the screen and realizing you've not actually seen the update. So I've got a new version of the image which I'm going to put in instead of the one that we just did for a moment. And I'll put a 70% limit on that so it doesn't fill the whole screen. I'm going to save that. And we are going to load that in to replace the one that was there already. So loading the HTML. And bringing in Roll20 view. And bring in these. So what I've done is I've put that image in from a local inside Roll20 link. And obviously I want to do more layout. I might want to put the text for something above the eyeball here. I want to maybe do something here that makes better use of the space. But I'm kind of happy to have that as my hold screen. And so what I can do there, once somebody fills in the character creation form, they'll come to this holding screen. And then once everybody's finished their character creation, I can zap through and I can change any features that I want. So, yeah. So what are my other to-dos today? And let's take a look at my to-do list. So I have done the stress and removed the D4s and a few other things whilst I was in there. This was the sort of save function on character creation for Paranoia sheet. So it's just the dice macros. Okay, I'm going to be putting that one off a bit, aren't I? Okay, so my dice macros, I'll probably copy some of that from the Tales of Xadia character sheets, and then start making some changes to that code to match the Paranoia stuff. This is a bit of a lengthy task, and I'm really only letting myself have another 20 minutes or so. I'll see how that goes. I might have a bit longer. Don't really know. I don't want to push my luck, basically. Whilst I got the place to myself for the rest of the hour. Let's see. We can do some setup. We can do some setup. Let's do that at least. So yeah. Okay. So the dice macro. Let's at least set some up. Hey, thanks for the feedback, Damon Kanin. Sorry, I hope I got the name right. Okay, MySpace was a while back. Yeah, I'm using some pretty unique methods. Should we say that? I'm not entirely sure that I'm the authority you want to base your coding standards on. But yeah, thank you for chipping in there with um, your memories of MySpace. Uh, and yeah, I don't know. The coding that I'm doing on here, I'm using CSS and HTML to pull together um, a character sheet that I want to use for a Roll20 game. And I'm going about this in a really weird approach because there's a really good, well, there are a number of really good Paranoia games out there. And rather than use those, I'm creating my own using the Cortex Prime toolkit. And then I'm hand coding my entire character sheet to to my own specifications, which are just off the top of my head. So we were talking about. I'm going to bring in from the Cortex Prime character sheets all this massive amount of horrendous coding I did for the dice roll template that I was using for Tales of Xadia. And God, where is the top of this section? Okay, here we are. We got it. We got it. Okay, so I want to copy that whole thing, and then we're going to go back into the Paranoia code. Now, I've got to do all the CSS for this as well, but I'm going to just ditch the CSS for now because I'm just not getting into that. So, um, that's the holding page. I don't have anything outside of this that I need to worry about, so I'm going to put my... Okay, so all of this that you're seeing here, all of this, each one of these is one of the dice that you could possibly roll. Because to do a Cortex Prime dice roll, there are different ways, but when you have a known limit to the number of dice that you need, one way to do it and display it graphically is to just roll all the dice and hide the ones you don't want. It's not very compatible with 3D dice rolling, which is a feature I'd love to support. We've got oh man, and I've got to put the dice roller button in, and I've got to put the yeah, there's a lot going on here. Okay, so I need 3 trait names. 1, 2, 3, and I do not need 4 onwards. So I can get rid of those. I do not need values. We're not using values in this system, so I'll just get rid of a whole values section. Yes, the distinctions I'll keep, and they're going to work because distinctions in this dice roller just tell you, is it a hindrance or is it not? Which way around? Sorry, does it help or does it hinder? So that's that. Specialties. I will keep specialties. In this instance, I might need to get the one from Hammerheads with the training packages. Okay, so here, each of these specialties, it's asking what speciality do you have and how does it apply? Is it a 6? Is it an 8? Is it a 10? Or is it a 12? And then it will roll that dice. Well, it's going to roll all of them anyway, but then it will show the one that you've chosen. And thinking about the specialties, I do need a 4 as well, so let's do that now. So duplicate the 6 and put in the values 4 and 4. Change the text there. Cool. Okay, so that means that, yeah, to be fair, Okay, so this doesn't name the specialty that you're using, which is good because there are going to be some hidden skills that your character shouldn't have, and if it's named on screen when you make the roll, that's going to be more information than your opponents need. Okay, yep, your opponents, the other players need. So I'm saving that in. Just while I'm at this, sheet roll, template cortex, sheet roll, template container, yep, that's good. So that was the specialties. Assets. Do you have an asset that applies at 6, 8, 10, 6, 8, 10, 12? Yeah, I think I'm looking at, yeah, I would be using the Tox build for stress, that works as well. And then help, are you receiving help? I don't think I'm running the help mechanic in this specifically. Okay, and then there are rules here for shaken, and I don't think I'm needing those. Unless I go for, so I can keep the 2 dice, I can only keep 1 dice if you're shaken or stricken. Yeah, I mean I could track stressed out on here, but I don't think I need to. So I'm just going to get rid of all the shaken stuff. And then here we're going to actually output the dice. Just the dice rather than which traits they're associated with. So I need the same values as before. This is traits 1, 2, and 3. I don't need 4 onwards. And then values I don't need at all. Distinctions stay the same. Specialities I need a 4. 4, 4, 4. Oh, I missed one before. I need to go back and get those. 4, 4. Yes. So Damien, the briefly, I had 2 sets of code on screen. I had CSS and HTML in 2 separate tabs. We're currently just looking at the HTML here, but I had 2 tabs open with CSS and HTML, and then I was skipping across to Roll20 like this and using the sandbox tools, which lets me load HTML and CSS directly into a live game, well, a test game that I'm running. So that then automatically updates the character sheet from inside the running game, which allows me to check to see how the code I'm working on is actually affecting it. And to be honest, the piece of code that I'm working on now, we are not going to be testing because I've got to do all the actual visual stuff as well. So I am going through and making sure that this row is all referring to D4s. Like so, and you can see here that I'm stealing all these from the Hammerhead's job that I did before. But that's those, they're all false, but that did point out to me that I missed something when we did the other entry, so let me roll back up to the specialty 4 here. So I got that one, there, specialty 4 there, and then in the URL for the images here, I need a 4, so I'm rolling the right dice over the right background graphic. And this is not the time for me to go into all these, but why not? Okay, let's go on to the first entry, and I want to just talk through what it is I'm actually editing, because it's not going to make any sense until I do. Okay, Damon, so to answer your question, So using the sheet sandbox tools, I can click on HTML or CSS buttons there, and it will let me automatically upload the CSS for the character sheet. So if I load up, let me load up one that's actually got the character sheet showing. So all the layout elements that I've got in here are coded through CSS. The actual content is HTML, but the style here is CSS. It lets me, so I've got a pull down. You won't see the pull down because Twitch Studio won't show UI interfaces unless I'm showing my entire screen. But I've got a pull down here that lets me pick a different security clearance for my Paranoia characters. And you can see as I'm doing that, that's changing the CSS in-game based on the decision I've made. So I've picked blue as the security clearance. It's automatically updated the name of the character from tutorial to tutorial. Yeah, okay, that amuses me because I'm just a nerd. And then the blue borders are all changing at the same time. So that's all using the CSS. How do I get that in there? In this sandbox, I'm using the HTML and CSS buttons to upload them directly into the game that I'm running. But let me have a look. If I exit the... So there's another one you can see there from the Tales of Xadia character sheet that I was working on at the start of this video. I'm going to exit this game. Man, I hope that I'm going to... right. And then I'm going into my actual games. And then if you go into one of the... Yeah, I want to be able to show this later anyway, so let's look up. So this is the actual campaign that I'll be running using the Paranoia system that I'm putting together. And if you go into the settings for any of your Roll20 games and go to game settings, and for this I think I'm Pro Subscriber, but here we have the character sheet template option, and you've got the HTML to paste in there for custom character sheets. You also have a CSS tab on there. You can also do translations. I currently don't require translations for the game that I'm planning, and to be honest, I wouldn't trust my ability to translate anyway. But then once you've pasted in the HTML code and the CSS code here, save the changes, and that will apply those. But that's slower for editing purposes because now I've got to go in, paste, save, come out of this, go into the actual game, launch the game, then load my character sheet up. So all of those steps. But that is where you can put in the HTML to style your own character sheets and code them as well. But seeing as we came in here, let me have a quick look and show you what the desktop for the Paranoia game that I'm going to be running looks like. And not all of this will make sense from a distance, but that's the overall view. And then I'll zoom in and we'll just have a close look up here. So you can see here each of the individual characters that we're going to be going for, and tutorial made it into the actual game, but these are all new icons that I'll be using. And I'm just going to give credit to Hero Forge, which is where the images for the characters come from. Hero Forge is great if you want to start producing some of your own 3D miniatures. I'm going to be using all the stress for this game. So from the start of the video, we were doing stress controls in Tales of Xadia, and I did that all on the character sheet. But for the Paranoia game, I'm going to be using, that's quite right, Damien. For Paranoia, I'm going to be using on-screen stress levels, because I'm going to need all of my players to be able to see each other's stress levels from the get-go. They're going to be using them more often against each other, I would hope, than against my actual NPCs. So this here is a rollable token, and we can choose the side on that token, and at the minute it's showing the computer, but let's say that you've got a D6 happiness stress, then I can assign that there. And then other players will be able to see that this character's happiness has stress on it, and whenever they're using that against them, they can come in and look at this and say, okay, I'm going to add Anna Ray's D6 of happiness stress to my dice pool against her. Or Tutorial has 8 health stress. He's been banged up a bit, and if he's trying to do something, yeah. So it's that kind of thing. Choose side. I'll put that back to the computer. And I'm just wondering. I mean, I'm doing this, and I want to check. Yep, you can actually see the Roll20 user interface because that's actually part of the Roll20 web view. So you can see me changing the size of those dice. The stars here are just I've created my own set of Paranoia trees and stars as icons. They're available for free, I think, on the icon sets. So I can switch off the black one and put a gold one in, and you can see that eventually the trees and stars fill up on there. And then I've got a few extra bits on the GM layer. So each time we go from one scene to another, I'll be changing the scene distinctions, and I'll drop that down from the top layer down. I'm going to be using some safety controls if people need to stop the game because there's something coming up. I've got a few extra tokens available in case I need instant NPCs that I want to drop in. And then I've got a few NPCs here that I'm going to be making use of. Ooh, mysterious. And then the Doom Pool, I'm going to be using the Doom Pool mechanics for this game. So I'll start with 2d8 against you every time you're making a roll, and then I can use these tokens as with the others. I can change those to whichever dice type I want. Okay, so that's there. But what I want to do is go back out. Man, I've got to explain something completely different. That's okay. That's cool. So hopefully Damon's been able to see where you can put the code and how you can add that feature in. I've got a lot less time on the roll template, but that's fine. Like I said, I wasn't expecting to get this done today, and I've made a change. So let's take a look at the roll template. I'll turn off the Roll20 view. So I've highlighted here this section of the roll template. So within the roll template cortex, I've got a container, and this is all just so I can style it and color it the way that I want. The roll total is a query run by the roll template. So it's saying, does the roll total of trait name equal 1? Then, so it's going to check to see a variable called trait name, and then it's going to check to see if that variable has been assigned the first value. And the first value is thought. I'll change those now. So, as you can see on the character sheet, we'll just pop that back on screen for a second. These traits that I'm dealing with are the action traits, thought, word, and deed. So I'm going to put those in as the ones that are in the code. And so trait 1 is thought, trait 2 is word, and trait 3 is deed. And these represent the 3 basic types of actions that you can take as a character. You use your brain to work something out, you use your words to talk something out, or you use your body to beat something out. Did not come out the way I meant it to. And then I want to change all references to those in the variables so they match as well. And then as we scan further across the right, they're called on here. So thought dice size tells it what size dice to roll, and so we're going to roll a dice here. So D, sorry, this loads the image, so it's not rolling. This is just, so D, the file name of the image that I'm loading is called D4 blank. And then the size of the image, 280 by 280. And then if it's a fumble, if the dice is fumbled, then I need to be able to load a specific version of the image. So it's going to check for that as well. So we'll work our way through. So thought dice size, word dice size, deed dice size. Press further. Thought, word, deed. So it's then going to append dash hitch into the file name, so it loads the version for when you roll a 1, and then we need to close that conditional so that it matches the same as the open of the conditional. Okay, so let's change those to match the character sheet. Now let's just go back over them again. So this section is a query about the role called trait name. So I'm going to have the player pick which trait they want to roll. Do you want to roll thought, word, or deed? And based on that decision, it'll pass a variable value of 1, 2, or 3 to this roll total query. So if you pick 1, it knows you want to roll your thought trait. This then is the actual value that you're rolling your thought trait has produced. So it's a variable name called thought that will be filled with the dice value that you've rolled. Then this is just the word thought, which is going to appear next to it. And then here it's going to name what dice you've rolled. So D4, D6, D10, whatever your dice value is. So it's going to check to see what the thought dice size is. And it's going to just put that number next to the D. And it's going to tell you that this was an attribute that you've rolled. All fairly straightforward. But behind your value, so this is the value that you've rolled, I want to put an icon of the dice so that it basically matches what's on the character sheets. So the little red symbols that we saw for the dice on the character sheets, I want to get those into the dice roller. So I'm going to refer to the same image here. Everything up to there is just the URL for that image. And the image name starts with D for dice type. And then the size of the dice is defined by a variable that I'm passing. And then it's a blank version of that dice, so it doesn't have any numbers on that dice image. Then we've got the actual dimensions of the image, and I put that into my file names for images because I find that useful to be able to say, oh, hang on a minute, how large is this? What resolution will this display at? And then it does another query. Was this roll a fumble? Did it roll a 1? So if the thought roll came up as a 1, then also include the words hitch. And then I close that query here. And then finally, once all those queries and everything else is run, so all of that there is queries just to tell me what is the size of the dice and was the dice a failure. And then I just end with the file extension .png. So that's calling that image in. Now, I don't have that in, obviously I don't have that in the Paranoia game. So let me just load up one of the other games where that is present. And we'll do a quick test that. So bear with me a minute. I'm going to the custom sheet sandbox. And I'm going to load up the Tales of Xadia game we were just doing this on earlier. Load that. So this is the Tales of Xadia game, and you can see here one of the previous roles that, well, a couple of the roles that we've run before. Yeah, that's visible there. So you can see that we rolled the agility attributes. You can see the size of the agility attribute is a D10. You can see the result, and these are slightly off. I may have to edit my code so that these numbers are more centered. But there's the icon for the D10, an icon for the D6, the D8, can see the results again at the bottom. So if I load up, let's have a look at sample character, and we're going to do an edit of this and bring it up to the point where it's a fully formed character. So values are set, and okay, to be fair, this has got lots of traits filled in for me. So yeah, this is Bonetta, I think, from the pre-gen characters. So if I click my dice pool builder button here, it's going to start asking me some questions. What are you trying to achieve? Demo the dice roller. For that, we're going to want the chat back up. In fact, let's actually do this in character. What are you trying to achieve? Demo dice roller. Submit. How are you attempting to do this action? Which of my attributes am I using? Agility, awareness, influence, intellect, spirit, strength, or am I a capitalist? I'm going to pick strength as my as my attribute, and that's going to pick the D6 from strength. What is my driving motivation? Well, that's from my values. So I will pick truth, because it's a D4, so I've got a D6 and a D4 in my dice pool. Does my distinction help or hinder? I will pick that it will help, so I'll just leave it on help. Do I have a relevant speciality? Yes, so I've got a 6, 4, and 8. I will have a speciality at D10, which means I'm quite good at something. Do I have an asset to help? Yes, I've got a D12 asset. It's a very powerful magical one. I'm going to have another D6 in there, and that's all the dice that I can have. And here's the roll. And so you can see here that my strength D6, I rolled a 2, my truth value D4, my D8 came up with a 1, and it's recolored it to show that that was a hitch. So that's where the was a botch query comes into play. It checks to see if it was a botch and loads of different icon in the background. My speciality D10, I maxed out that, so I've got a little green 10 in the rollover. My D12 asset came up with a 7, my target stress was at 5, and there are the dice in total at the bottom that I can start picking from. And so within the game system, technically I would pick the 2 best dice, the 10 and the 7, add those together for my result, and then I would keep another dice as an effect. That would leave me with D6 being the best option for my effect dice. So that's what I'm building in the Paranoia character sheet. So it will come out with basically this same outline of what traits you've rolled, and then show you the results at the bottom. But I'm going to have to do all the CSS, and I need to go through and make sure that all of the variables match the names of things that are actually in the Paranoia character sheet, and I also need to add the dice pool button somewhere to the character sheet. So there is that. So if we get back to the Paranoia character sheet for one more time, and then I think I'll probably come to a close for a short while. So I'm going to load up the Paranoia character sheet. Back into the custom sheet box. So let's bring tutorial back up. So I don't know, I'm probably going to put the dice roller down here, because I don't think I'm going to get any more content in this section, so that leaves me some white space available there, which could be that I put it above distinctions to push distinctions down, but I want everything balanced as much as I can. Or I can stick it up here in the top right. I've got nothing in that area, so I can create a button up there. That makes sense actually, because then it's actually in the same area as the actions. So you're taking an action, hit the actions button sort of thing. So that's another action to do. So I'm going to just update my to-do list, and then I'm going to log out, guys. Thanks for joining in, and paying any attention to what I'm doing at all. It's always appreciated. So I'm going to get rid of the tox stress. That's been done. The dice mapper is in progress. So I need to look at roll button. Button needs adding. And CSS and check all attributes. Cool. Cheers. See you around, Damon, and thanks for the interest. Hopefully, what I've put in front of you has answered a few of your questions. Is there anything else you want to check before I log off? And thanks for the follow. Just noticed that you followed me, and I've got another follower as well today. No, they followed me a long time ago looking at it. Still learning the interface with Twitch. So yeah, if you've got anything else that you want to ask just before I log off, that's cool. If not, I'll be seeing you around. Oh, I'm not so sure about this music. Nothing wrong with it, just not quite. I don't really have a schedule at the minute, Damon, so thanks for checking. So for the game to go live, that's just a someday thing. For the streaming, I don't have a schedule for when I'm streaming at the minute because life just doesn't have that open opportunity where I can guarantee that's what I'll be doing when I'll be doing it. Yeah, so I'm going to be a bit flaky as to when I stream. The game itself, probably not until August, just based on timings for other campaigns I'm involved in. So I've got tomorrow night. I've got the last episode of the Blades in the Dark that I'm doing on Chaotic Neutral Games. So I'm really looking forward to playing my character one last time. Big hopes for how that might come out. Could be disastrous, could be heroic. Then we've got I'm running a D&D Eberron game, and that's going to be going on probably until the end of the year, but that's a once a month thing at the minute. This Paranoia game is something that I'm looking to probably do as a limited series, and it's probably going to be streamed with Chaotic Neutral if I stream it. And I might be testing it out with a local group that are opening back up in July. So with that in mind, if I'm going to be playing it with actual live people in person, we'll probably be using devices to run the character sheets off of. That's a good point. Let me add that to my to-dos as well. I want to make this mobile compatible for the new app. That's what I've done with the other two character sheets I'm doing. So 1 second. Back in here, to-do list. So I don't forget to do this mainly. Make it responsive. Cool. Oh. Well, did responsive end up down there? Responsive. And get rid of that T. Cool. Yeah, so, and to be honest, I'll probably do a few playtests with the guys from the Cortex Discord as well. They're the experts on how Cortex runs and stuff. And I meddle a little bit. I like Cortex; it's my go-to system. So if I do need playtesters, watch out. I'll be asking you guys to come give it a go if you want. But yeah, so thanks again for the interest. This was more just as a keep me focused so I can keep going, but actually got somebody watching me. Woohoo! I won't let that go to my head. Anyway, I am going to be signing off, guys, so be kind to the next watchers. For those that are coming in on View on Demand, please do rewind this before going. That way, they've got a comfortable experience watching in the future. Cheers there. All the best.